Ever had your whole life turn upside down in one night? That happened to me. One moment, I was helping my girlfriend of 5 years get ready for her company's annual gala. And the next, I was hearing the word that changed everything. Roommate. My name's Noah. I'm 38, a marketing director at a mid-sized firm. My now ex-girlfriend Vanessa, 36, works in pharmaceutical sales. We met at a charity golf event, hit it off quickly, and moved in together about a year later. We had a future mapped out, talked marriage, even had names picked out for kids. The real deal, or so I thought. Things started to change about 6 months ago. Vanessa got promoted, regional director of sales. It was a big deal, came with a nice raise, and her schedule exploded with travel, meetings, and pressure. I supported her completely, picked up more chores, rearranged my life around hers, even helped with her work when deadlines got tight. I thought I was being a good partner, but that's when I started noticing the shift. She became more distant. Our pictures vanished from her social media. She dressed differently, sleek suits, bold makeup, stuff I'd never seen before. When I complimented her, she'd say it was how professionals dressed. Like, I wouldn't get it. Even though I'm a director myself, she stopped mentioning me to her coworkers and avoided introducing me to anyone from her job. Then came the gala. It was advertised as a black tie event, partners welcome, but Vanessa told me it was employees only. I believed her until I overheard her talking on the phone about what her colleagues' husbands were planning to wear. I called her out, and she brushed it off, saying she just didn't want to bore me. After some back and forth, she agreed to let me come. I bought a new Armani suit for the occasion. Nothing flashy, just something that fit the atmosphere. The night of the event, Vanessa looked incredible. It was at a high-end hotel with gourmet food and a full bar. I tried to enjoy myself while she mingled, but then her VP came over, stuck out his hand, and said, "So, you're the roommate Vanessa told us about." I waited for her to laugh, to correct him, to say, "Actually, this is my boyfriend, Noah." But she just nodded and said, "Yeah, we share an apartment. It's convenient." I stood there stunned, a champagne glass halfway in my mouth, trying to understand what I just heard. When we were alone, I asked her quietly, "Roommate?" She rolled her eyes and said not to make a scene. Her boss was old school and didn't think dating was professional. I reminded her we didn't even work together. She snapped that I didn't understand corporate politics. For the next 2 hours, I was a roommate or just Noah over and over, and each time I felt a little smaller. Back at home, I tried to stay calm and talk. 5 years together, and I'm your roommate now. She sighed and acted like I was being unreasonable, said her relationship status wasn't relevant to her career. I pointed out she brought me to a partner's event. She poured a glass of wine, didn't offer me one, and said I should be grateful she kept me around. I thought I'd misheard, but she went on, said she was on track for senior leadership, that her career was taking off while I was just comfortable, a big fish in a puddle. She said most women in her position, according to her, would have upgraded by now. That hit hard. Everything we'd shared, everything I'd done to support her, was suddenly charity in her eyes. I had two choices. I could argue and beg for her to see my worth, or I could agree. So I agreed. "You're right," I told her. "I haven't appreciated your success like I should. I'm sorry." She looked surprised, then smug. She nodded and said she was glad I understood. We went to bed without another word, the silence between us colder than ever. She left early for a breakfast meeting the next morning, still wearing the diamond earrings I gave her on our 4th anniversary. As soon as she was out the door, I began executing the plan I'd stayed up all night thinking through. First, I documented everything, took photos of everything in the apartment I bought, gathered the lease agreement, both our names, but I paid a deposit, pulled bank records showing I covered most of the bills, about 70%, and took screenshots of all my transfers to our shared account. Next, I made calls, one to my bank to start untangling our joint finances, another to my lawyer to go over our shared investments in real estate, a vacation cabin upstate, some mutual assets. The third call was to my boss. I'd been offered a job in Chicago 6 months ago. Huge firm, triple the salary. I turned it down because Vanessa's career was based here. I called to ask if the position was still open. Then I packed, took only what was clearly mine. Clothes, heirlooms, my home office setup. Left anything we bought together or that I gifted to her. I'd already booked movers a night before while she slept. They arrived just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. By 3 o'clock, half the apartment was gone, my half. Furniture, tech, artwork. Even the fridge and washer-dryer I'd bought were loaded onto the truck. What remained looked like a smile with missing teeth. I left the bed, let her keep that, and the kitchen table she'd picked out, her clothes, the decor she chose. I wrote a note and left on the counter. Good luck paying rent, roommate. I'd paid my share through the end of the month. But here's the twist. I didn't just move out. I moved on with a plan. The financial call, that wasn't just about closing accounts. I initiated a full audit. Every shared cost, every trip, every gift. The legal one already set the wheels in motion to separate our property and shared investments. And the career one, I'm flying to Chicago next week for final interviews. Seems the opportunity's still on the table. Sometimes the best way to reclaim your dignity is not with an argument, but with silence, a plan, and the sound of a door closing behind you. Want to hear what happened when she came home and found the apartment half empty? Stick around. That story is coming next. Ever been someone's secret when you were supposed to be their partner? Back then, I didn't realize just how deep Vanessa's deception ran. It wasn't just that she introduced me as her roommate at one of her work events. It was a double life she had been living beneath the surface. Later that same afternoon, while checking into a hotel, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Graham, Vanessa's VP. "Noah, this is awkward," he began. "But are you and Vanessa still together?" I was thrown off, not just by the question, but by the fact that he had my number. He reminded me that I'd given him my business card at the gala months ago, offering help with marketing if ever needed. He said he'd held on to it because something about our situation had always seemed strange. I told him Vanessa and I had just broken up. There was a pause. "I thought so." He said, "Look, you should know. Last night I called you her roommate because that's what she's been calling you for months. But there's more. She's also been involved with someone else. Charles from legal. They've been pretty open about it at events you didn't attend. The floor dropped out from under me." He described them holding hands at retreats, sharing hotel rooms on work trips, behaving like a couple while I unknowingly played the role of cover story. I thanked him and ended the call, all my hands trembling. I hadn't just been overlooked. I had been used. The calm, calculated breakup I had orchestrated suddenly felt far too generous. I moved into what I now know was a scorched earth response. Within 2 days, I withdrew my share of the vacation property we co-owned, forcing a sale at the worst possible market timing. I notified our landlord I wouldn't renew the lease, which had 60 days left. I paid my share through the end, but made it clear I wouldn't be involved moving forward. I told HR at the company I just resigned from that I was relocating for personal reasons. I mentioned that a significant other's entanglement with someone at their workplace had made it hard for me to stay. Didn't name names, but left enough of the picture to form. I made a single social media post about my exciting career, moved to Chicago, and tagged several mutual friends knowing it would reach Vanessa. I also called my cousin who happened to work in another department of her company and shared what had happened. Gossip travels fast in corporate circles. The fallout started almost immediately. Vanessa called, texted, left dozens of voicemails. "Are you really moving out over one comment? Why is Simone from accounting asking me about Charles?" I didn't respond. And then came the message that told me I'd hit the nerve. "They're investigating me and Charles." "What did you do?" I still said nothing. By day 3, her messages shifted from frantic to apologetic. "Please know I'm sorry. That was a horrible thing to say. You weren't just a roommate. Please call me." I never replied. By the end of that week, I'd signed with my new firm in Chicago, put down a deposit on a lakefront apartment, and was loading up my car for the drive. That's when she showed up. She'd found me through the hotel booking. I'd use our joint credit card at first before switching it out, knowing she'd see the charge. Her arrival wasn't a surprise. Her appearance was gone was a polished executive. In her place stood someone hollowed out, disheveled, and broken. Was this all because I called you my roommate? She asked, voice then with emotion. No, I said quietly. The first word I'd spoken to her since everything fell apart. It's because when I asked you why, you said, I was lucky you kept me around at all. She stammered. I didn't mean it. I was stressed. I was showing off for the married guy you were sleeping with. I cut in. She winced. Graham told you. Everyone did. Apparently, I was the last to know. Tears streamed down her face. I made mistakes. But you ruined everything. My job, my credit, my life. That's not justice. That's revenge. And there it was. The moment I realized I had crossed a line. Not because she didn't deserve consequences, but because I'd become someone I didn't recognize. I'd started with righteous anger. Somewhere along the way, it had curdled into something cold and calculated. You're right. I admit it. Some of this. I didn't plan it to go this far. I didn't expect how everything would collapse. Then help me, she pleaded. Tell HR it wasn't true, that you made it up. I never spoke to your HR. I said, honestly. Everything that happened came from inside. And no, I'm not going to lie to protect you. She stared at me. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. I loved you, she whispered. It wasn't all fake. I shut the trunk. Funny thing about love, it needs respect. And apparently, even as your roommate, I never earned that. I got in the car and drove away, watching her disappear in the mirror. Chicago was waiting. 6 months had passed. The new job is going better than I ever imagined. I've made friends, dated casually, built a life that feels solid. I've even started to feel like myself again. Through mutual contacts, I heard Vanessa was eventually reinstated at her company, but with a demotion. Charles was shuffled off to another division. She's living in a smaller apartment now, and I'm told she sold off much of her wardrobe to stay afloat. Her credit took a hit when I closed our shared accounts. 2 weeks after everything, she showed up at the hotel. That confrontation was the last time we spoke directly, but she still calls sometimes, leaves messages. I don't respond. Recently, she sent an email. It was long, sincere, and for once without excuses. She apologized. I appreciated it, but I didn't reply. Some chapters aren't meant to be reopened. The cabin we co-owned finally sold after sitting on the market for months. My lawyer handled the paperwork. We split the proceeds based on our original agreement. It wasn't much, but it was fair. Looking back, I know we both did damage. Her betrayal, my response. The difference is I can own what I did. That's something. For those wondering if revenge feels good, it doesn't. Not really. It feels empty once the fire burns out. What does feel good is moving forward, building something new, realizing I never needed someone else's approval to know my worth. I'll never be anyone's placeholder again. That was the cost of my self-respect, and it was worth every cent.